All right, so this is going to be my ToB walkthrough video. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be doing a ToB run, and I'm going to be sort of giving a little bit of commentary for everything that I'm doing in the run. This is not a guide, so if you are completely unfamiliar with ToB, I would definitely watch a guide first. There are some really good guides if you just go onto YouTube and you just search up OSRS ToB guides. I know Exact has some guides that are really quick and pretty good, but any guide that you find on YouTube when you search with a decent amount of views should be fine. We Do Raids also has some really good channels for ToB, for learning ToB. They have like short like GIFs and videos of how to do all the bosses and like text guides. So that's a really good resource too. But yeah, I'm just going to be going through and telling you guys sort of what I'm doing, what I'm thinking about. And then hopefully that helps. But definitely don't watch this first if you have never even seen what happens in ToB, because I'm not going to be able to explain like all the mechanics and everything as we're going through, because things are just going to be going too fast. So I'm just quickly going to go through my gear. I like to just use full void. This is what you're probably going to be working with as a learner. You just want to have your Zenites and your occult for sure. You bring a Berserker ring, bring your Prims, bring your Fire or Infernal Cape. You could have a Dragon Warhammer or a BGS. You probably don't want to have more than one BGS per team, though. I have my T-bow, but you don't need that. You could just bring a blowpipe. You can blowpipe everything. That'd be fine. I bring pegs just because since I have a T-bow, I like to use it at Soditseg. And so having Pegasians on Soditseg is pretty good. Also, it just helps a little bit with the other rooms that you range. I have my Sanguinesti, but you can definitely just bring a Trident of the Swamp. I also bring a Mage Cape. I probably wouldn't suggest this for learners. You'd probably want more food space. But since I'm pretty comfortable with the amount of food that I bring, I just bring a Mage Cape. It helps a little bit with the switches at Nilo boss, and it obviously gives you a little bit more damage, but not super needed. The last sort of luxury thing I bring is a Brimstone Ring. I would probably not recommend this for learners at all. It's not too much of an upgrade anywhere, but it's just a little bit nice to have a little bit more stats while you're maging and ranging. Also, it helps your Dragon Warhammer specs a little bit, but definitely just camp the Bay Ring when you're first learning. I have the Rapier. When you're learning, you're probably just going to camp the Tent Whip, but I use the Rapier since it's a little bit better than the Tent at some places in ToB. Basically, anywhere that you're meleeing that's not Verzik. Obviously, not better than a Scythe, but I don't have a Scythe yet. And then, it also helps me save some charges on the Tent Whip. So, but yeah, definitely when you're starting out, just use the Abyssal Tentacle. I have my Claws, of course, super necessary. I have the Crystal Halley. I would also bring this if you're a learner. It's not too hard to use, and it's really helpful. I have my Salve. I have my Potions. So I always like to bring 3 Super Combats, 2 Super Restores, and a Ranging Potion. You could bring 3. If you're learning, you'll have more inventory space. 3 Super Restores and 1 Ranging Potion. I have my Rune Pouch, and then I have my pre-pot stuff. And I always bring 30 Soul Runes. You don't need to bring 30 Soul Runes at the start, especially if you're raiding with a team and someone's going to be doing S2 for you. But it's something you'll probably want to start doing sooner or later, just in case you do have to do S2. It also helps to have Blood Barrage for the Nilo room as well. But yeah, so these are my pre-pots. When I raid, I usually don't pre-pot because I know exactly how much of my doses I'll need and everything. Everything's pretty calculated. But definitely when you're learning and you're starting out, you definitely do want to pre-pot. I don't have an Imbued Heart, so I would definitely use an Imbued Heart if I had one. Okay, so that's sort of the gear. Pretty simple. But definitely the core stuff is just the Void, the Warhammer, the Whip, the Blowpipe, and your magic gear, right? And your range gear. The others kind of stuff you can kind of see was not super necessary. So yeah, I'm just going to go to the board here, try and find a team. Shouldn't take too long. And then we'll see if we can go. I don't want to join a team that's too low in KC. And this will be good. I passed up on this team earlier because this guy raids with an arc light. This Iron Man 487. He's not even an Iron Man. He's just you think he's really poor, and I don't want to raid with someone who has an arc light, especially for a video. Okay, so you see this guy just called pot. We're gonna use our pre-potions. Gonna put my magic potion back. We're gonna withdraw. I usually like to bring 2 manta rays and 2 brews in, because I like to have a little bit of combo food in case I need to eat really quickly. But it's perfectly fine just to have 4 brews, or just all brews, maybe 1 anglerfish to go in with you is nice. But you'll kind of figure that setup out really quickly about like exactly how much food you want. So when we go in, everyone's going to call roll. Especially this is important for if you're doing free-for-alls. So I'm going to be freezing S1, S3. So I see I call S1. That guy's going to be freezing N2 and N4. So we're just waiting for the last guy to come in. So yeah, I'm not going to be explaining everything that's going on in Nilo, like all the mechanics or anything. I'm just going to be talking about sort of what I'm doing, what I'm trying to pay attention to. Okay, so they haven't called their rolls, but that's okay. Not everyone at the high KC free-for-alls calls their roll. We run in, Dragon Warhammer spec twice. A little bit of lag. So now we're just ranging the boss, right? Pretty simple. I see it's going close to 70, so I turn on Augury, get ready for the first set. Make sure my void's on. I barrage the S1, and then I always want to barrage S3 to clump so that it freezes right there, right? So no matter whether you're N1, N2, or S1, you're always going to want to barrage the very first crab. You're always going to freeze 2 crabs, right? You always want to barrage the first one as soon as you can, and then barrage the second one around this area, like a little bit, probably like a tile before it gets there, just so it freezes there, right? So again, it's at 50, so I know there's a set coming. I put on Augury. I barrage it just before it gets there, right? And then I kill the crab on my side. I know the next set is coming at 30. So during this time, right, I'm making sure I dodge that blood that she throws at me. I also want to freeze any blood spawns. There's probably no time to kill this blood spawn. So I want to... But in general, you do want to kill the blood spawns as fast as you can, but I knew there was a set coming up, so I wanted to make sure I was in my magic gear. But I can go ahead and kill that blood spawn right now. You always want to make sure you kill the blood spawns. During the last set, since we don't really worry about like crabs anymore, we don't have to move around as much, we can just freeze the blood, and we don't have to kill it. So like that guy's choosing to kill it, but see like this other guy, he's with me. We're just you know, killing it. And so he's telling that guy to DPS because that guy shouldn't be killing bloods right now. The reason I'm moving every time she attacks is because she could throw blood. So I just want to be moving my character in case that happens. So yeah, pretty smooth room. But that's sort of the general idea. I just want to make sure I'm paying attention to when she throws blood, paying attention to the blood spawns, and then freezing my crabs at the appropriate spot. If you're doing S2, you're probably not going to do S2 when you're first learning, but for S2, it's the same thing. You barrage S4 at the clump. You can also clump S2, but that's not something you need to worry about when you're learning, because most likely you'll have someone do S2 for you. Okay, so this is bloat. We just want to make sure we're on the opposite side. Always keep protect range on. I don't know why people don't do it at the start. It's not like you run out of prayer in this room. I just like to set my quick prayers to these just so like I'm fast to turn my piety on when I need to. We wait for him to go down. We put on our piety. We can hit him probably 6 times here. So I always like to go 5 hits and then a chally. So this is 3. This is 4. Oh, I actually did not get my chally off there. So that was a mistake by me. I think I was pretty close to getting stomped, so I just wanted to make sure I got out. Yeah, normally you want to chally on every rotation you can. So here I still have 2 specs left, so I'll probably just claw spec once and then chally. If I challied on the first time, I would have just claw spec once here and then challied again. So this is my second hit, third hit, fourth hit, fifth hit. Good. So that's like a sort of very standard kind of like bloat hit rotation. So otherwise, pretty simple what we're doing. Definitely the most dangerous room, right? But you're just watching bloat and then making sure you turn when he turns, and otherwise dodging the shadows on the ground. And all the stuff about where to stand for each rotation, the person who's teaching you will probably, which will probably, I guess, be me, will probably explain that to you. But basically, you just want to stand on the side of bloat where you can most quickly make it around the corner, right? Because his stomp doesn't go around the corner. But that's something you'll kind of get the hang of after like a very small amount of runs. Okay, so it looks like we're going to be meleeing here, which is good. Because probably meleeing is probably going to be the thing you start off learning to do. But all the roles are actually not too hard. Probably mage is the most important one. It's important to have a good mager. But yeah, so here I'm just going to be meleeing. If you were ranging, you would just be ranging with a blowpipe. Mage, you obviously, that guy, right? He just has a staff out. He's maging. So I'm just going to be hitting all the white ones, which are the melee ones. As a learner, you just need to really worry probably about the white ones. You don't have to switch too much. But since I'm a little bit more experienced and I want the room to go a little bit faster, I'm going to also switch to some other styles to help out the other roles. Especially since there's 2 meleeers, sometimes there's not always things to do. So here I'm just switching to my different roles, killing the crabs for other roles. So this part is pretty simple, right? We're just killing the crabs. We're making sure we prioritize killing the big ones. You don't have to keep on piety the whole time. You definitely go through a lot of prayer if you do. It's usually not a huge deal that you'll one-hit most of the crabs anyways. We want to blood barrage a little bit just to keep our health high. So this is why I like having blood barrage in this room. So yeah, so there's not too many meleeers here. So I'm just going to make sure I kill the crabs for the other styles. Oh, so I attacked that one. Why has it changed? Yep, so this is all pretty straightforward, right? So now this is the big melee phase. So this is where I definitely want to put on piety. Don't worry if everything in this room seems really chaotic right now or really quick, or I'm not really explaining what I'm doing. You're just killing the ones on your style. You don't have to get too fancy about it. I keep on prey melee here because there's a lot of melees coming out, right? And not a lot of big white ones. And so I just see these ones are attacking us instead of the pillars. And I just know that from experience. So that's why you definitely want to put on protect melee here. Here I put on Protect Mage just because I know there's a bunch of majors coming out now. So it'll be very important to to protect from that. So that one just switched on me. So I want to come down here. I see there's a bunch of meleeers here. I want to make sure I clear these out. Looks like they're already damaged. Still have Piety on. I could take it off if I want. I'll just keep it on for now. So it looks like everything is pretty healthy right now, right? I try and zoom out a little bit to keep an eye on the pillar health. Since we're getting towards the end of the room now, I'm going to just barrage some of the Nylos just to heal up a little bit on health. Okay, now I'm going to get ready for the boss. I always like to do claws first into a Hallie. And I get ready to switch. Green, put on my bow. You can get 2 hits in. She switches every 10 ticks. What you can do is you can blood barrage the second mage hit just to get a little bit of health back if you're a little bit low. Alright, pretty simple. We're just switching based on the styles. You see how I always pray first before switching my gear. Because they'll attack you right at the start. That was a really big chally. Don't worry about, like, if you have a bow, switching between the blowpipe and the bow. You could just do blowpipe or just the bow. The other one's fine. I'm just kind of sweaty, and I like to switch and get the last hit of the T-bow in. But yeah, so a pretty straightforward boss, right? You switch for your prayers, and then switch your gear. I drop my swords here because I no longer need them. Just pick up my potion. Now we're going to move on to Sodid Seg. So you notice on Maiden and on Sodid Seg, when I run in, I'll use my bow. You don't need to do this at all. It's just so I get this extra hit in on the entry, you know? So I'm going to go ahead and always going to Dragon Warhammer spec once. Oh, got to make sure I switch my prayers before I switch my gear so I don't die. So you always stand on these tiles. We can either stand in this set of 4 tiles that I've highlighted, or you could stand one over. So like this guy standing this one, you could stand here, here, and here. But you just want to make sure whatever tiles your team decides to stand on, that you're all like on the same set of 4, if that makes sense. Okay, so I took a lot of damage there. Gonna go ahead and brew up. So sorry I didn't explain anything at Sodid Seg. I was just talking about the tiles and stuff, and it was pretty quick. So here we just get ready to run the maze. Just click the red tiles. That guy messed up and did not click the red tiles. Again, he did not click the red tiles. That's fine. We missed. Probably gonna rapier here. Anyways, you want to just keep on protect melee, and then you switch red to the red orbs, switch black to the black orbs, right? Pretty simple. So it's always red, the one he shoots out, and then it always splits into a red and the black, and they can go anywhere. But after that, they don't split again. So I'm just trying to keep on protect melee, and then only switch for when I see the orb coming at me, right? When it's about to hit me. Pretty simple, right? So here's the big orb. You can kind of hear it if you have the audio on. But basically, we just want a DD in the center, right? I'll stand within 1 tile of the person who has the orb. Then it reduces the damage, right? So otherwise, it'll just one-hit somebody. Okay, cool. So here, we didn't get a chance to run the maze. That's too bad, but that's okay. So they usually go to the first tile, second tile, and then they wait a little bit on the third tile just to get everyone time to get there, because that's before the tornado starts. This guy keeps messing up. I don't know if it's the same guy. Yeah, we just click the red tiles. Very simple, right? And then come on through. I'm going to eat another angler. So this time I stand here because I see this guy's also standing on the other tile, right? So like if I move, it'll be 3 out of 4 of us standing there. Make sure I have my brimstone on to spec. Did not hit though. Yeah, so otherwise there's not too much else about this room. Pretty simple. Just make sure you change the prayers. Definitely easy to die as a learner because there's a lot. The prayers are actually hard to keep track of, but yeah, once you get used to it, it's pretty simple room. Okay, so I have some extra potions, right? So what we're gonna do is just gonna eat these before going on to the next room. We want to make sure we're boosted as high as possible. You don't have to worry about your magic level. Anything else you can drop. So I go to the chest, grab my supplies. I always go into Verzik with 2 super combats, 3 super restores. I want a stamina. I had a 3 dose, which was totally fine, but I might as well just take a 4 dose since I have the extra points. So this is like a very normal of my setup, my very normal setup for Verzik. You'll obviously probably have a lot more brews when you're a learner because you'll have a lot more space. So I would recommend maybe 4 super restores and more brews. But no more than 4 super restores, and you'll probably have, if you have like no brimstone, no rapier, no bow, maybe no cape, you'll probably be able to bring probably 8 brews or something, 8 or 9 brews and 4 super restores, which would be more than plenty. So here we're just standing on the poison things that spawn, right? I drop one of my potions so I can make room because I'm going to be blow piping this. Pretty simple, just requires a little bit of coordination for this part. You don't want to step on each other's. You want to try and spread out in each of our 4 corners, see? We're all kind of spread out. We only run to the one that's closest to us. So here we Piety, Dragon Warhammer spec. And then I put my blowpipe on and I just start blowpiping. I just want to make sure every time he looks and throws poison at me, I move 2 tiles. You can see what order he looks in by looking at these orbs at the top. So this is King of Kings, me, GZ, no purple, and fewer falter, right? So he's always going to look at King of Kings. So this is like the rotation, King of Kings. He looks at me. The next person he looks at is GZ, no purple, right? And fewer falter. So you always know, he always turns in the same order. So pretty simple, this room, right? Very easy. You shouldn't use any supplies here, even when you're learning. I want to make sure I keep these 8 tiles clean. You don't have to worry about these outside tiles I've marked. But we want to make sure we keep these 8 tiles clean, so that's why we spec'd from the corners of these quadrants, if that makes sense. Because we're going to be using these tiles for after he screeches. So after he screeches, you want to stop attacking him, because otherwise he'll reflect damage at you. And then he starts turning specifically to these random quadrants. I put on my melee gear, which I think is the safest thing to do, especially when you're learning. And then, so basically what I'm doing here is moving to whatever quadrant he just looked at, because I know he's always going to turn to look at a different one, right? And so we just use these 8 tiles as kind of like safe spots almost. So that's hopefully pretty straightforward what we're doing there. He always attacks every 8 ticks, so you can usually just get 2 whip hits in, right, after he turns. So it's something you'll really get the hang of very quickly once you start learning. And when you're starting to learn, you don't have to really move as much either. You could probably just get away with just standing in one place. You just want to make sure you stop attacking him every 2 hits, you know, just in case he turns to where you're looking. Okay, so this is probably the part where I'm going to explain the least, because Verzik just moves very fast. But I know I'm second in the order, so I'm getting ready to pick up a staff. I spec with it once, I spec with it twice, and then I drop it for someone else. The third person in the order should be going, so that's GZ, no purple. I just make sure I'm behind the pillar when she attacks. I can get 2 rapier hits in. Once she opens her legs, I click on her. I get 2 rapier hits in, and I run behind the pillar, right? So I know fewer faults are just spec'd, so the next one should be King of Kings. It goes back to the first person, so everyone specs twice on the first rotation. And then I know the next spec is going to be me. Pick up the staff. I hit twice. One of them is a spec. The other one is just a regular attack. Then I come out of the pillar again. This one, I know that one was low HP, so I just make sure I don't go back to it. I go to the right one, right? You never want to be by the pillar when it's falling down. Okay. So here's where I keep a close eye on the health bar at the top because she's getting really low. So I want to make sure I'm not on the pillar when it goes to 0. Okay, so here it should be going down, so we see it goes down to 0%. You want to make sure we're off the pillars, right? And now is our time to kill Verzik. She comes out. I stand on one of these tiles I have marked. Okay, so crabs are spawning. I'm moving away from the crabs. And then I'm freezing them, right, for my teammates. So you see how we have 2 people on each side. So basically what I'm doing, right, I'm standing 1 tile away from her. Every time she does that bounce thing, I click on it, right? And then I move in like a triangle or like a pizza formation to an adjacent tile, right? I'm basically just moving between these 2 tiles every time she bounces. She runs on a 4-tick cycle, so you'll be able to get 1 whip hit every single time she attacks. So it's very nice if you're using a whip. Crabs are coming out again. This guy and I keep freezing the same crabs, which is kind of annoying. So again, we just go back to the rhythm we had earlier. I just keep my protect range off because like I don't get hit by the range hits, but definitely when you're learning, you always want to keep it on. Do not get cocky about it. I'm gonna use this time to eat up a little bit. Always want to make sure you're super combated at Verzik. So she's getting close to under 35. Once she goes under 35, she starts spawning the red crabs, right? So here I see that she's spawning the red crabs. I take out my rapier. You could just keep your whip on. And then after 3 hits, she goes back to that rotation. So I just want to make sure, see, she still threw a range hit. So that's why I move back like when I'm hitting the crab like that, right? And then once I get the crab low, maybe at least to like below 20%, we're back on the boss, right? So the next crab's out. I'm still doing that rotation, right? And this is where we pray mage, just because, right? She has a magic attack on this phase. Rapier back out. You can also just be using the whip. The reason why we don't get the crabs low here is because we know she's low. So we're most likely going to be able to DPS to finish her off here. We actually might not get it here. Oh! Okay, we didn't get it there. But now it's really low. This time we'll be able to get it. Oh, I got bouncer because I attacked too early. Okay, now it's P3 time. Hopefully I'm not tanking so I can actually explain what's going on. Alright, yeah. Good. So someone else is tanking, so you don't have to really worry about what they're doing. So I just want to make sure I pray correctly for the magic and range hits, right? So these spikes that coming out are range. So they've been all range so far. I know crabs are going to be spawning right here. So I just want to make sure I get ready to freeze these crabs for my teammates. You see the other people are doing the same. So that right there is a magic attack, right? See, she like charges up and there's this like blue, ow, that was a melee, blue stuff around her, right? So here we're getting ready for webs. I'm gonna try and free my teammates. So here's a magic attack, right? Magic again. Gonna use my stamina. Okay. We just each go to a yellow one, right? So I know the next special in this rotation is going to be the ball. So I just want to make sure I'm above 74 when that happens. It's going to happen after 4 auto attacks. So this is the second auto attack. Third auto attack. Fourth auto attack. So now I want to make sure I'm eating up, just in case it throws it at me. If she doesn't, that's great. I just keep DPSing. Now we start moving because we're at 20%. Here's the portals. So I just want to make sure while this is happening that I'm always moving and then always hitting her as well. It's very important to DPS. I want to freeze a little bit of the crabs for my teammates, because it can get pretty hectic here with the crabs. Not everyone does this, but it's definitely a good habit to get something to get in the habit of. Okay, so for this last web phase part, I don't want to risk anything. Just gonna ToB it super low. Everyone likes to go in melee at the end, so you definitely don't want to get caught in a web while there's a purple following you. But yeah, pretty straightforward. We'll see if we get anything here. Nope, no purple for us. But yeah, that was my walkthrough. It was a pretty smooth raid. Sorry I didn't get to cover all the mechanics and stuff. A lot of things are just happening too fast. But that's the general idea of like stuff I'm thinking about while I'm raiding. So hopefully that helps. But yeah, otherwise, thanks for watching.